Hello and welcome to freephotoshop.com. Today we're going to look at how to optimize and save a GIF image inside Photoshop and Imageready CS2. I've got an image open on screen here called Union Jack Unfurled, and it's a picture of the Union Jack flag quite literally waving in the wind. And because it's waving around, we can see that we've got a high number of colours producing the shadows and highlights, and these areas of gradual transitions where the shadows turn into highlights. So even though at first glance it looks like we've got red as a primary colour, in the middle here it's actually hundreds of different shades of red that make up the composition of that flag. And that means that this image will not save well as a GIF. For this kind of image you're going to want to be looking at saving as a JPEG or a TIFF, for example. Now if I close this image, we've got another image of the Union Jack in the background, and this one is going to save well as a GIF. First of all, we've got a large block of solid colour. Secondly, we've got very few colours. In fact, we've only got 3 colours in the whole image, red, white and blue. And finally, we've got no areas of gradual transitions. So where one colour changes to another, there's no attempt to soften the transitions here inside this particular flag. Now to save the image as a GIF, we could come up here to the File menu, choose the Save command, and then change the file type to GIF down here and click the Save button. That's the quick way of doing it, but if you're wanting to optimize the image as well, then there's a far better way. I'm going to cancel out of here and then go back up to the File menu and select this option, Save for Web. Now this is going to open up our optimization controls. Great, because not only do we get our controls, but we also get windows for viewing the original image and how the optimized version will look as well. I'm going to start off by ensuring that I've selected GIF as our chosen format, and we're going to come down here and make sure our color table tab is selected. Now even though the color space we're working in may have millions of colors, the GIF file format can only save a maximum of 256 of them, which is the reason the GIF format can maintain such a small file size. In the color options up here, we can select how many colors we want in our color lookup table, which is a table down here that keeps an index of the colors used inside the image. We can use between 2 and 256 different colors, but obviously the more we have, the larger the file size will be. Now as I said before, our image only contains 3 colors, so our optimum color setting would be to choose 3 colors for the color lookup table. If you'd prefer to work with presets, you can just choose 4 from the drop-down menu here. Now I'm going to click the Done button, which allows me to leave the Save for Web dialog box without applying the settings. Then I'm going to minimize the Union flag image, which reveals another image that may look familiar if you've visited my website freephotoshop.com. This is going to provide a few more challenges in the optimization process. I'm going to hit Ctrl-Shift-Alt-S on the keyboard, or Command-Shift-Option-S if you're using a Mac, to open up the Save for Web dialog box once again. Now if you want the 2 windows in a different arrangement on the screen, it sometimes helps to slightly change the size of the whole dialog box by dragging the bottom right corner. Okay, I'm going to select a color lookup table of 256 colors, and even though this logo has got some very slight glows and shadows, 256 colors is enough to accommodate them. In fact, it turns out that it's more than enough, as we've got some colors almost duplicated down here in the color lookup table. The best way I find to optimize a GIF is to start with the highest color setting, as we have done here, and then work your way down. In this case, 256 colors is giving me a file size of 13 kilobytes, and that's down here from the original of 176 kilobytes. If you change the amount of colors to 128, the logo still looks good, and we've managed to knock 3 kilobytes off the file size. I'm going to keep lowering the colors until I see the logo starting to lose some quality, and right here at about 32 colors we're starting to see a loss in quality. especially in the glow and shadow of the number 3. And if I zoom in here to 300%, you can really see that we've got a problem. I'm going to bump the colours back up to 64 where we're retaining a good level of quality. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other settings. GIF as standard is a lossless format, but if you wanted to add lossy compression, then you could do so with the lossy slider. You can also click the lossy button to add lossy compression to text layers, vector shapes, and a channel if you wanted. You may find this helpful for more complicated projects though. Underneath the format box, we've got our color reduction method. In the free Photoshop logo, we have selected 64 colors. And if our logo had more than 64 colors, then the first 4 options here would decide how to reduce the number of colors to 64. We've got perpetual, which maintains colors most sensitive to the human eye. We've got selective, which also tries to keep colors sensitive to the human eye, but also looks to keep colors that are plentiful in blocks of color, as well as trying to maintain colors from the web-safe palette. Then we've got our adaptive color method, which looks for the most used colors in the logo and bases the color lookup table around them. Next we have the restrictive color method, which turns all the colors in the logo to their nearest web-safe equivalent. Web-safe colors aren't so much of an issue anymore, so it's unlikely you'll be using this option all that much, although it does come in handy on those rare occasions. In the next section we have a custom option, which saves the color lookup table as it is, and then if you change or add the image later on down the line, the color lookup table doesn't change. The methods underneath here are pretty self-explanatory, and unlike the options in the top half of the drop-down menu, which help us to maintain exact colors in the GIF, these 4 options convert the original colors to specific palettes. So we can save a black and white GIF, a grayscale GIF, or a GIF which conforms to the standards of the Windows and Mac operating systems. 99% of the time you're going to want to work with the first 3 options in this drop-down box, and in this case I'm going to choose perpetual as it looks good and gives me the smallest file size out of the 3. We've also got some extended options. By pressing the button here, we can modify our color reduction around text layers, vector shapes, or even a channel. Now this logo is effectively text on a background layer, so if you keep your eye on the color lookup table, I'm going to select text layer, and you can see that the colors present shift towards those within the text layer itself. Okay, I'm going to deselect that and hit OK. The next option we have is our divvering option, and basically what you're doing here when you divver inside a GIF is to create the illusion of a particular color by using other colors inside the GIF's color lookup table. If I click the Done button here for a second and bring up this image called Divver Example, you can see that what we've got here is a block of blue color on the left, a block of red color on the right, and then in the middle we've divvied those 2 colors. Now if I zoom out a little bit, we can see that the divvied section is looking more of a magenta color. So with 2 colors, the red and the blue, we've created the illusion that there's actually 3. Another example is if we divvied black and white pixels, we could create a neutral grey. Okay, I'm going to minimize that and open up the Save for Web dialog box once again, and all my settings should still be the same as I close the dialog box by hitting Done instead of Cancel. Okay, we've got 3 different algorithms for divvering inside our GIF. Diffusion usually gives the smoothest results. Pattern goes ahead and uses a standard linear pattern. And noise is a more random process of divvering. Now I don't actually need any divvering in this image since I haven't even used a full color lookup table, but I'm going to go ahead and select diffusion as an example, and you can see that our divvering percentage slider has become active. From here I can choose the amount of divvering I want to apply. We can also hit the Divver Control button to apply our divvering to text layers, vector shapes, or channels. Next we have our transparency checkbox, which needs to be ticked if you need the GIF to support transparency. You can also choose a transparency diver algorithm, which will try to smooth out the transition between opaque pixels and transparent ones, which can be quite difficult as a pixel inside a GIF is either transparent or opaque. A GIF can't actually support varying degrees of transparency, so sometimes it may be more productive to apply a matte instead. A matte will aim to imitate transparency by using the chosen colour, which we can select via the matte drop-down menu over here. In the early days of the internet, when server connections were slow, choosing the interlaced option would allow the GIF to display at a low resolution while the rest of the file was slowly loading up. It was designed to give the viewer something to look at instead of just staring at an empty page. Finally, the Web Snap option will help us add or subtract web-safe colours from the GIF based on a tolerance level. At 0% the image isn't using any web-safe colours. At 100% it's using only web-safe colours. I haven't really found this particular option all that useful, but I'm sure it is quite useful for certain web developers. Now before we call it a day, I want to just quickly show you the method of locking colours. I'm going to change the colour lookup table to 256 colours. Then I'm going to come up here to the mini toolbar and select the eyedropper tool. Next you'll need to make sure that you're zoomed into the image, and before I reduce the colour table I want to make sure that I'm preserving some particular colours that are important to the image itself. So if I click the background colour first of all for an example, that will highlight the colour within the colour table. I can then select the lock icon to lock the colour in. I'm going to go ahead and select another colour, this time from within the text, and then I'll lock that one as well. You can see that we're getting really tiny lock icons here in the corner of the swatch. Now as I reduce my way through the colour menu, no matter what happens, we're always going to be keeping these particular colours. Even if I select two colours, we're going to be left with the two colours I've chosen. And that's a great way of preserving an important colour inside your GIF. We've also got options before we save to change the image size, but personally I do my resizing and cropping before coming into the Save dialog box, where we've got the full range of Photoshop's tools. And if you're using Imageready, by the way, all of these options are available inside the Optimize palette available in the Windows menu. Well, I hope you found this tutorial on freephotoshop.com to be helpful. Thanks very much for watching.